Hey, it's great to talk to you again today, Purdue fans. What a big game Saturday that they had against Alabama. It was in Zach Edey's hometown of Toronto. We all expected something magical from him, and I'm pretty sure we got it. The question was, though, could Purdue stop one of the nation's most potent offenses? Now, many people before the game speculated that Alabama needed to score like into the 90s, maybe even close to 100 to win this one. They play little defense, so that's why we were going to score a lot, Purdue that is, but can score the ball immensely, Alabama can. So the question became, does Purdue stop them, and can they score enough themselves to be such a high-flying force that they were going up against? Let's look at the game. These, again, are my notes as it happened, so it kind of wrote it straight down on a pad and kept going, right? Straight off, Alabama hits its first 5 shots, 4 of them being of the 3-ball variety. Meanwhile, Purdue struggled against a team not known for defense because they were playing defense for some reason or another. Purdue wasn't bad, though. They still were shooting 3 of 7 in the early on. Now, Alabama quickly has a 19-9 lead just 5 minutes into the game, and I'm sure a lot of you were thinking, whoa, what's going on here? I know I was. But Purdue scores the next 5, and somehow the guy Pringle, who had just come off a suspension for Alabama, doesn't get a technical when he tries to intimidate Zedy, and he stands right there in his face. Yet the referees went to the video and still didn't call the obvious technical foul that was there. That, in my mind, told Alabama that they could keep playing rough if they wanted to and try to intimidate. Every time Purdue closes it to like 3, Bama hits another 3 in response, hitting 8 threes in the first 10 minutes of the game, 8 of them. I can't see that pace keeping up is what I wrote down. Now, the score is 30-18 at the 9:53 mark, barely 10 minutes into the game. Pringle, after sitting on the bench with 2 fouls, comes back in and quickly gets his 3rd foul. That's what intimidation will do for you. Guess he wasn't intimidating anybody, was he? But that should allow Zedy to feast with no big man to keep him locked up is what I wrote down. And yet, still, Alabama is playing some good D up to this point and shooting better than 50% overall. If they can keep it up, they will win, barring Purdue shooting crazy like Bama is right now to start the game. But at that point, Alabama was 9 of 17 shooting, and Purdue was 7 of 16 shooting. So both teams still doing pretty well. Now, the steady play, though, of Purdue was like a drum. It just continued on and on. Before you knew it, they closed it up to 31-29 at the 6:20 mark. And after a 14-4 scoring run, that is, it's 34-32 with 4:30 to play. Now, Purdue's defense has started to push Bama as they scored 20 points in the first 5 minutes, remember that? And just 14 in the next 10 minutes, so the D of Purdue is starting to show up. Yet another 3 comes, though, for the Crimson Tide after Purdue makes it a 2-point game to make it 40-35. And Alabama is still scoring at a 10 of 19 on their threes, 10 of 19 with 3:30 left in the half. Now, unbelievably, 13 3-pointers in the half is what they ended up with. And they're still only up by 2, so you had to think to yourself, if you're Bama, is this even possible for Bama to keep shooting over 50% from the 3-point the entire game? And why are we not up more? I put a big question mark on that one if they could actually continue to shoot this way. Truthfully, 13 made threes in the first half was already more than Bama had made in any full game this entire season. 13 of 24 shooting, a lights-out, mind-boggling 55%. I know it seems I've been talking all about Alabama with crazy scoring, and it felt like I was saying nothing about the Boilermakers, yet there they are, just 2 points back at the half. Now, Purdue was 3 for 7 from 3 themselves, but was getting the bulk of their scoring in the paint, obviously, and getting to the free throw line. It was pretty easy to see that in the second half, Purdue should keep pounding down low, as Alabama's big men are in foul trouble, and Pringle especially, obviously. Plus, I didn't believe Bama would have any legs left if they kept shooting threes at the pace they were really starting to play at, very fast paced. Tired legs shoot poorly in second halves of games. And witness that if you even look at the big overall picture of the season last year that the Purdue freshmen kind of went through. The second half of the season, their shooting started to drop off, and that could have been from some tired, weary legs. The young guys had never played that many games, and their legs just looked like rubber into March, it seemed like. So, for this game, though, on to the second half, where it seemed first guy to 90, first team, or maybe even 100 might win it. Who knew? One last thought, though. Sears, the Crimson Tide's best player, was pretty stoked, and he was cocky. He was doing one of these little signaling kind of things to people to be quiet when he hit threes. Now, he was hitting a ton of them, so I guess you can be that way, but I wrote that might not be a good idea to poke the bear a little bit when you do that kind of thing. All right, on to the second half. Most people have focused on the poor play by Purdue to start the half. It really wasn't as bad as they seem to think, but lost in the mix was the quick 3 fouls that Bama got. Let's see what that happened, though, as we get into it here, all right? So, the second half went like this. Alabama, despite fouling 3 times in the first 2 minutes of the game, got 3 shots off before Purdue even attempted a shot in that second half. Before you could blink, Bama was again 3 for 4 shooting, and Purdue was 0 for 1 to start the half. Bama's lead was now 8, and they again looked like they wanted to play some defense for some reason. Big starts in the first and second half on the D part kind of withered away after that, though. Now, in Purdue's first 3 possessions, they had 2 giveaways and a missed shot. It was crazy. And Purdue was down 14-0 to start each of the first halves if you add them up. After yet another 3 by the Crimson Tide and a 4 for 6 shooting to start the second half, Pringle, the big man, gets his 4th foul, clearly hooking Zedy's arms. But it was funny. Then, of course, he stands up in disbelief, puts his arms up. "Oh, it wasn't me. What are you talking about?" It was clearly a hook. The hook has been used by every single team this season and last season and is getting called maybe 25% of the time. At the 15:54 mark, though, Purdue was down now 9. And Bama had both big men in foul trouble, though, with 4 fouls. So that was going to be a pivotal point in that kind of mix there. Now, after a nasty earth-pounding dunk by Zedy and a fast turnover leads to a fast break for Purdue, and now all of a sudden the lead is 3 at 60-57. So you can see how things can change quickly. Alabama, though, keeps throwing up the threes, but is now starting to miss. They're not hitting them as much as they were in the first half, obviously. Like I said, legs get weary, and with 12 minutes left, this might be what could happen with teams that live and die with a 3. They just don't make as many in the second half, usually anyway. Meanwhile, Purdue comes away with no points in like 2 trips down where they could take the lead. And I got frustrated myself when I saw that. So far, though, it was a very, very entertaining game for both teams. Now, after 2 missed threes by Bama, Gillis hits a 3 to take the lead, and another Boilermaker 3 leads to a Purdue 65-60 lead. Almost like you could have snapped your fingers, and all of a sudden they were in the lead. Now, after a huge hustle tap out and over the head, spectacular pass from Gillis to Colvin, Miles drains a 3, and Purdue is now up 73-64. It was a spectacular play. The Purdue then run was a 26-7 run. And if you're a Bama fan, you're probably going, what do we have to do to beat these guys? Because Purdue was relentless on both sides of the ball and is showing they can play any brand of basketball in this game. Now, Bama continues, though, chucking up the threes, hitting 2 more, and Purdue's is up 75-72 with just 5 minutes to play. Then the funniest thing happened. The man who has been hooked and held 400 times this season is called for a flagrant hook and hold. I know a lot of you are upset about that, too. They even went to the tape. Didn't look that bad to me. It was a foul, but Bama hits one of the 2 free throws and then quickly nails another 3, and all of a sudden they got the lead again, 76-75. But the next 2 possessions, here comes Zedy. 2 big dunks. One was a big dunk, plus he got a free throw on the second, and Purdue goes up 80-76, and it looks like they're trying to not even look back. Bama counters with yet another 3, though, and all of a sudden it's a 1-point game again. They can't stop shooting the threes. Then, as expected, Pringle gone. He finally fouls out, giving Zach 2 free throws. Pringle had 0 points. And then what happened? The General Smitty starts to take over. It's his time. The next 5 points by Purdue are from him, and they're up 87-81. Alabama counters with a 2 and a 1 before Zach fouls out a second dude with 1:05 left. Now Zedy hits both, and Purdue is up 84-89. Alabama throws a ball away. Sure, they look tired, discouraged, and under just a minute to go. Purdue can put the dagger in with a made shot, but missed. And after another lost ball by Bama, they get a steal and a bucket under Purdue's inbounds pass. Basically kind of went through Fletch's hands with 22 seconds left in the game. It was a shame. He was kind of getting into the open, too. Purdue is still up, though, 89-86, and gets the ball. Purdue inbounds, and after running off 7 seconds for some reason, Alabama didn't foul. Jonesy gets fouled. He does miss the first, but he makes the second. Purdue's up by 4. Now, the main man, Sears, who's been scoring all these points, he runs down the court, tries to draw a foul on a layup with 10 seconds left on the drive, but he missed the bucket. Plus, he wasn't really fouled. There was no touching of anybody, although he tried. The General gets fouled on after he gets the rebound, and as you could know and you could see, he put it away 92-86. What a game to watch. It was up and down the floor, all kinds of scoring. But let's take a look at the numbers and some of the bad and the good of a great game. Starting, of course, with 19 made threes from Alabama, and they still lost. But they shot a crazy 46 of them for a 41% total. They went from 54% in the first half to 27% in the second. Live by the 3, die by the 3, I guess. But really, Bama had a great game, yet the never-ending push of the Boilermakers team is something to be reckoned with, and they just could not overcome that. So here are some great stats from the Twitter world, though, the X world out there. Some of you put these out on the Twitter world main stage, and I grabbed up some. This one from Boiler Paul. Alabama is the 45th team since 2010-11 to attempt 45 plus three made field goals and made 40% plus of them. Those teams are 42-3 now. This comes in from our famous Chris Kramer. I said it before, and I'll say it again. An aggressive Braden Smith is a must for Purdue. Boiler up. And then coming in from Greg Doyle Starr. I had to really read that a couple times so I wouldn't mess it up. He said this: Purdue has more than the best big man in Matt Painter's 19 seasons. And of course, that's Zedy. I call him Zedy, but he just put down Zach Edey. It has the best point guard, too, in Braden Smith. Now, there'll be plenty of people that can argue that, but it sure showed like it last night, didn't it? But that great stuff from everyone out there. Still in this game, the current National Player of the Year showed a powerful men's game in his hometown. Some of them guys are way older than him out there on the court, but he still looked like a man for sure. Zedy scored 35 points and had 8 rebounds. But let us not forget the General was basically the guiding factor in this one, scoring 27 and posting 8 assists and 5 rebounds. He drove and scored when he needed to. He pulled up and hit a jumper when he needed to. He passed when he needed and came through in the clutch when Purdue needed it. That's what your General has to do. And that's why I call him the General. Now, Purdue out-rebounded Alabama only by 5, but it really seemed like there were too many long rebounds going to Bama. And because they were taking so many three-point shots, you get a lot of long rebounds. So they seem to get a few more than most teams would normally get. And that's probably a byproduct of those missed threes. Now, while a bunch of guys contributed, no flashy stats jump out at you. But looking back at it, Gillis and Colvin hit some really big threes in that second half. Morton defended well and just was there again as usual. Fletch was off with his shooting, but we know he can bounce back pretty easily as he's shown in the past. So, 9-1 now, and number 1 Arizona is up next. I have to admit, this game is more important to Purdue than it is to Arizona. If Arizona loses, they'll still be 2 or 3 in the country. If Purdue loses, they may drop to 6th or 7th, despite playing such a tough schedule. So it's more important to Purdue, it seems like. But if they win, they should rotate right back into the number 1 spot. Either way, the great competition will make this team even better and more battle ready as the season goes on. So that's it for now. I'll see you next time, and hopefully another Boiler win on Saturday.